because you do not like correction. You were living in sin, and it was you were challenged about your...
You know, guys, I've reflected on this. I've thought about my response so much and how I'm going to respond to this very vulnerable, severely indoctrinated young girl from Kharis Church cult. And guys, the reason why I've taken my time to respond to this is because I've been absolutely heartbroken. Sorry. I've been absolutely heartbroken seeing this video, because what this young girl stands for is she represents the most vulnerable group of young women in society. You know, I can see from the video, and this was even before it was confirmed by members, that there has been a history of neglect. There's been incidences that I won't name with this girl that's spoken out, where she's needed people to support her in many different areas. And so because of my social work skills, my ability to psychoanalyze, I could tell within the first 60 seconds of that video that this is a young, vulnerable girl. And these are the girls that I talk about which make them more susceptible and at risk for joining high control groups. I think having said this all this time, and then the shocking factor of seeing a member that vulnerable actually coming out for us to see it with our physical eyes, everything that we've been talking about has been absolutely, I just have no words. Another reflection of mine with this video was it was so triggering for me, because these were the type of girls, when I was in the cult and I was in the dark, I felt, because I was in a cognitive dissonance state and I couldn't actually help them. I couldn't support them. There were issues of SA and grave, and I just weren't hearing it because I was so far removed from self and my reality. And so I think seeing a video like this, she really reminded me of a girl that is still currently in the cult that I love dearly. I think there was a bit of transference and counter-transference. And basically that's the whole theoretical ideology, that it's like there's a transference because I have a shared experience with her, and also because she reminded me, or she reminds me of that young, very extremely vulnerable girl from my cult. I think it just brought up these feelings in me. And so I'm not here to really do a response to that, because I've been absolutely traumatized. I would say, guys, please be respectful in the comments, because this is an extremely vulnerable young girl that we're dealing with, that has, you know, a history of things that I'm not going to mention, because I do just want to safeguard and, you know, protect her vulnerabilities. But I would say, guys, that from this video you can see that this is an epidemic. Do you know what I mean? Young people and vulnerable children, the most high risk young people and children, are getting severely indoctrinated by Kharis. I also want to say, guys, that, you know, there was a part in the video that I do want to highlight, regardless of the vulnerability, and that is just the way these cult members are coming out. They're robotic, they're doing up, you know, regurgitated slurs and tones from the cult leader, and just a very abusive doctrine. And that's what we saw, where she insinuated that, you know, it's because I didn't want correction, I didn't run from sin. Babe, I received all the correction in front of hundreds of people, correction behind closed doors, silent treatment, all different types of abuses, gaslighting, and I received it for 18 years. That's why I stayed so long, my love. I also want to add that when I was in the cult, I stopped, I wasn't into any drinking or anything, you know. I gave all of that up, all of my bad habits, all of the so-called sin. I was celibate for 7 years. I then got married when I was 25 and was married to that man for 9 years. So I don't know what sin, those are the only sins that they talk about in the church culture. Do you know what I mean? Because they judge everything externally. So even off the basis of that, it's just so much contradiction and just such a high level of indoctrination, like severe indoctrination. And it's so sad, guys, because say like you've got young people who are neglected by their parents. They're coming in, looking for food, their clothes is in tatters. They're not even getting clothed properly by their mum. And I can always detect a neglected child through my social work skills, because I have the ability to psychoanalyze, and also I'm a mother. My kids are a representation of myself, so there's a certain way I'm not going to let my kids leave the house because I pour into my children, and I make sure that they're dressed well, their appearance is on point. So you can detect it. We can all see what it is. And it's absolutely heartbreaking that you could have a young person that's been neglected at home, or that's in a dysfunctional home, or a home that's not safe, and they are at more risk and at more prey of being recruited by these very dangerous cults. So I'm going to leave that with you guys. I'm going to say that just the events that have been unfolding with Kharis over this past week has been absolutely, I just have no words. Many different accounts, and not only from Kharis, but also First Love, because they're the same. But in all of this, guys, I know that this has been very painful and very triggering, because her response has just been so unempathetic. It's just been, I know it's triggered people because it's a real kind of like just demising of our feelings and what we've been through, but it's not her. It's not her. That is the indoctrination of the cult, and I think it's clear as day, because I know she's a lovely girl. I'm sure she's a really beautiful soul, but unfortunately this is what happens. You know, it's the ones that have the good hearts. It's the ones who just go in there, they just love God, they just want a personal relationship with God. And the truth is they've been abused their whole life by their parents, by a lot of people around them, so they think that abuse is love. And it's we can see it's demonstrated in that video. So anyway, guys, my name's Leah Lauder, Mega Church Cult Survivor 10 social justice activist and deprogrammer. Please check out my other crazy, wacky content on Mega Church Cults. Thanks for listening.